Hi guys, last class you talked about different special angle pairing relationships, complementary, supplementary, and vertical angles. And you should be working on finishing up this practice solving angle diagrams. If you did not finish that last class, which it looked like most of you have not, you can either watch this whole video if you'd like, or you have it online on Schoology as well, and if you're trying the problems on your own, try one, and if you don't understand or if you need help, you can always watch this video for an explanation. Let me adjust my camera for you. Okay, so watch the whole thing or watch the part that you need, up to you. All right, up to you and up to Miss Waite. So let's see what we've got here. So first thing that it's asking for is names for angle 3. Do you see how it has the angle symbol? That means we're looking for a shape that looks like this, an angle. So we find 3, but it's not just talking about this number 3, it's talking about this angle. Okay? So here's my angle, and let's see if I look at the walls that make the angle. This is one of the walls for my angle, and this is the other wall for my angle. So we're using those walls to create space angle number 3. So when we're writing two other names, we can use the name that's here. We can use the vertex letter, or we can use 3 letters. Okay, let's go with 3 letters. We've got 1, 2, 3. W, X, V. All right, so I can write down, and if I trace that, I tell them the path I want them to take. I should start on one of the ends. I go to W, then I go to the vertex, and then I go to V. So W, Z is my vertex. It's in the middle where they meet, and V. Okay, so W, Z, V, and I'm including the angle symbol so people know it's an angle. Now what happens if I put it in a different order? What if I wrote ZWV? If I wrote ZWV, right, then I would be going like this, ZWV, Z to W, W to V. That's not the same angle. See how it chases it up here? That's why we always have to make sure that our vertex, the point in the middle where they meet, is in the middle. Okay, point in the middle, in the middle. Another name would be, if I start with V, what would the letters be that come next? I bet that you can finish that. V, and then 2 more letters. Tell me what those would be. All right, now we're going to get into some measure questions. The first question is asking us, what's the measure of angle YZX? So first thing we have to do is find that measure. So it's an angle. All right, and that means it's between Y, Z, X. So I start at Y, here's Y, and then it tells me to go to Z, which is down here, here's Z, and then it tells me to go to X, X. Ah, okay, so it looks like we're looking at this measure, this angle right here. This one right here in the middle, see? All right, well that's a skinny little angle, but how are we going to figure out this measure? Measure, this M, means you want a number, okay? You need a number. Well, if I look around, I do have one angle measure right here. It says 50. And if I look directly across, see how this line goes all the way through, and this line goes all the way through? This angle and this angle are vertical to each other. They are across. It's like 2 angles who are touching noses, right? They share the same nose, but not the same size, okay? And we know that vertical angles are congruent. So this one and this one have to be equal. That means angle 1 has to be 50 degrees. So measure of angle YZX is equal to 50 degrees. Okay. Let's try the measure of angle 3. So in the measure of angle 3 is an angle we already found. It's right here, angle 3. And one of the angle relationships that will help us here is, if you'll notice, there's a 90-degree symbol right here, this corner. That means that this angle and this angle together, all together, have to equal 90 degrees, right? So if I have 50 of that, how much more do I need to get to 90? 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. I need 40 more. So if I have 50 and I add 40, then I would get to 90. That means that angle 3 has to be equal to 40 degrees. So the measure of angle 3 is equal to 40 degrees. Why? Is because we knew that these two had to add together to equal 90. Right? Let's check out the next one. We've got measure of XZV. Okay? XZV. First we have to find it. Here's X. Here's Z. And then V. Where's V? Ah, way the heck up here. Okay. That looks like it's going to be a challenge. When they talk about XZV, they're talking about this entire angle from here all the way here. So combination of 3 and 2. Right? So we know that this angle is angle 3, which is 9, which we already found was 40 degrees, right? This is angle 3, and it's 40. Now we need to know how much angle 2 is. And that will tell us how much the measure of angle XZV is. The whole thing together. Alright, so here's a good thing to be aware of. We know that this part is 90 degrees. See this 90? That means that this half of our angle is 90 degrees. From here all the way to the other side is a straight line. If I go from here all the way over here, it's a straight line. That whole thing would be 180. Okay? If this half, where the corner is 90 degrees, and the whole thing is 180, take away 90, the other part has to also be 90 degrees. This also has to be a corner, this part here. So that means angle 2 has to be 90 degrees. So in order to figure them out, 40 plus 90 equals the part here, the 90 degrees that we have, plus the 40 degrees for angle 3. Right? It gives us 130 degrees altogether. Right? The last question that I'll go over with you, YXV. Let's take a look. Here's Y, and we go to Z, Y, I said X, my apologies, Y, Z, V. So I go from Y to Z to V. It doesn't look like an angle, it looks like a straight line, but they use the angle symbol. That means we're talking about the whole thing all the way from here to here. Remember, if it is a straight angle, then we automatically know that it's half of a circle. If I go all the way around, it's 360. If I go halfway, then we know it's 180. Okay? So we know that the measure of angle YZV has to be equal to 180 degrees. Okay? Right. Let's try taking a quick look at a couple of these problems so that you'll know how to set up and identify different types of problems here. Okay? Let's start with this one, XY. It wants us to solve for what X and Y are. So we have to use the information we have. If I look at the picture, the first thing I notice is that this one looks like it's 90 degrees. It has a corner. Okay, so I know this one. I also know that this angle is 47 degrees. Okay, so we know that this one's 47. So, if I wanted to, right now, I can figure out either X or y. There's a couple ways to do it. Let's start with x. All right, here's angle x. And by itself we don't know what it is, but all together, if I use this angle relationship, do you see how together angle C XA, or this 47-degree angle, plus this angle make one linear pair, they equal 100. So I know that the green angle, that's 47 degrees, plus whatever x is, has to be equal to 180 degrees, right? Trying to figure out what this angle is. This one plus this one, these two together, equal 180. So in order to solve for that, I just move this 47 to the other side, and I get x is equal to 180 minus 47, as it goes from a plus to a minus when we bring it over. Okay? And that means that x has to be 133 degrees. Okay? The other angle that I'm trying to solve for is angle y. Right? And angle y is right here. By itself, we don't know it, but if I look at this relationship that exists, because this is 90 degrees, this corner, we have another corner here that would make this a linear pair. So these two have to be 90 degrees. Okay? So I know that this 47 amount plus the angle that I have here, y, has to be equal to 90. If I subtract 47, and minus 47 to move it to the other side, ran out of room, sorry about that, y equals 90 minus 47, then I end up with 43 degrees. So this one needs to be 43 degrees. And I can double check myself, these two together should add up to 90. 40 and 40 is 80, 7 and 3 is 10, 80 and 10 is 90. So we should be in good shape there. Okay. So let's try another one together. And this one is a little bit different. First thing we're trying to do is solve for x and y. And we have some angle relationship numbers that we know already. You cannot use the x and the y together. There's a couple different ways that we could solve this. You could say that this one and this one together equal 180. Or, if you recognized it, do you see how these are to make an x here? When we have an x, the angles that are across from each other, vertical angles, y is nose to nose, directly across, but not sharing a side. They touch just at the nose, right? You'd have to go through a space to get to the other one. They're not next door, directly across. Vertical angles are congruent. So we know that y has to be equal to the one across from it. Has to be 75 degrees. So that's probably the easiest way to solve that. Okay? Since we're already using vertical angles, let's go ahead and set this one up the same way. If these two are across from each other, then we know that the one with the x in it has to be across from the 105. Okay? If I want to solve for the x, I need to use the equation that has the x in it, and I need to use the equation with the x in it with one that doesn't have an x in it. Make sense? Okay, so let's set this up. Sorry, I just realized my lighting is a bit strange, but a whole lot can be done with that. Doing my best here. Let me see if I can shut a blind and if that will help. No. Well, we'll just have to make do, huh? Okay, so 6x minus 21. When they're across from each other, we know that they're equal. So this one has to be equal to the other angle, 105. Directly across, they are equal. So this angle is equal to this angle. Okay. Now I'm going to solve. No distribution. I box them up and I see if there's anything that needs to be moved. This is my x side and this is my number side. X's can stay over here, but this number doesn't have an x in it. It needs to move. Okay, so it goes from a minus 21 to a plus 21, and this 105 is a number, it can stay, so 105. If I add those two together, I get 6x is equal to 126. And then my last step would be to divide by 6 on both sides, giving me x is equal to 21 degrees. That allows you to solve for that one. Alright, so we have solved for a complementary, we've solved for a supplementary, 180, 90, complementary, 90, supplementary, 180, vertical, equal. Okay, let's look at how we would set these up, and I'm going to have you do these on your own. Alright, so first of all, we need to check out what we've got. We're trying to solve for x. Both of them have x's in it, but they're the only ones we've got. We've got this angle, we've got this angle. Those are the only two we have. How would you say that they're related to each other? They're next door neighbors, they're not vertical, not across, they share a side and they're touching. Do you see how they are arranged on a straight line here? They share a straight line, they form one line. Okay? That means that they will add up to 180 degrees. Remember, complementary, when you're looking at complementary, if you draw a line through it, it looks like 90. Linear pair, pairs are always the same, right? So you can think of pair as being equal. Like same shoes, they look the same, they're equal. And so they go together. So these are going to be equal to 180 because they're a linear pair. Line is 180 and pair means equal, linear pair. Okay? And then vertical angles, okay, they're the ones that touch noses and they're equal to each other. Okay? So this is a linear pair, 180 degrees. That means that this angle, right, whatever that first angle is, plus the second angle has to be equal to 180. Okay? So you are going to fill in this part, right? And it doesn't matter what that number is. Whatever comes after the degree symbol is the measure for that angle. So here, the pink one is just x, degree x. But for this one, see the degree symbol, 6x plus 19? 6x plus 19. Whole thing has to go in. Okay? So for this one, complementary, linear pair, vertical angles. Remember, this is complementary is 90, linear pair, line is 180, pairs are equal, vertical angles are equal to each other. This one looks like they add up to 90, so you're going to have two angles added together equal to 90, right? Try these last couple on your own and review your notes if you need help.